Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. All of our Wise conversations, of course, brought to you by our friends at Wise Markets. We'll be having our crab cake tour coming up in August. This has been the craziest year. I'm without music. I finally broke down. I made it to the Record Theater the other night, saw a little Rush tribute act. Didn't know how to handle people. You know, people coming up, mask, 6 feet, elbow bump. Went through that, but I know I'm going to be handling that cold refreshment on the lawn at Merriweather Post Pavilion. I've talked at length over the last 13, 14 months about the thing I missed the most. It wasn't baseball, football, hockey, any of those things. It was outdoor concerts in the summertime. Gene Parker's here. I've only known Gene since I was like 9 years old, back when I started as a music critic at the Evening Sun. I literally have known you from the very, very beginning. So we will talk cicadas in this conversation, Merriweather Post, and mutual love. How are you? How are things on the house on the hill in Columbia that made me the man I am today?
Oh, awesome. Well, it is so great to be here with you today, Nestor. And I can't wait to hear more about the crab cake tour here.
No, I want to hear about the jukebox. What do you got going on there?
There's a jukebox. Well, we've been in no music land for the last, 14, 15 months.
Did you
And
get that from a Waffle House? Is that
how
possible?
to
That's the only
have
place I know
some
where
music. Waffle House. I love it.
What do you listen to? I've known you, man. This could be the greatest segment ever. I should have you on all the time because, like, I have known you from the time I was 17 years old. And Miss Parker, can I have a press pass and come down and cover the Howard Jones concert? Like that was who I was. And I've known you 35 years, maybe. Is that possible?
It's been a long time. So yeah, like it was definitely back in the 80s, Nestor. And you were a young pup, and you hide it well though. You do good. So
well, I'm getting the long hair back. This is COVID hair.
You got the hair, so that's
it's
good.
Real. You can pull on it. It's not fake. It's the real thing. I love music, you know that, and I love you, and I love your venue, and
right back at you.
Damien O'Doherty and all the KO people, and the 930 people, and the IMP people that took over years ago. I mean, I go back to like Niederlander and you and Amanda, and me having a crush on ticket takers, and my little notebook and stuff that went on. I have so many memories at your place. And I'm just going to tell you, I mean, I might cry, seriously. Like when I think about the last year and a half at how the North Star, when people ask, and I'm kind of being facetious, but I'm really not, is that normalcy will return for me. I'll be happy again when I'm on the lawn having a beer at Merriweather. And I've told people that for a year and a half. That's, I say that kind of funny, but that's the most normal thing for me. That's something I've done every summer all of my life that I didn't do last year.
I know it was definitely a big miss. And for all of us, it was, we all felt we don't have a purpose because many of us here have been here since the 80s.
Have you ever not been there?
The
I mean, I remember seeing you screwing around down at Pier 6, for a little while. You worked, but you've always been. Has there ever been a summer where you had another gig that I don't know about?
No, because even when we were doing Pier 6, all the Merriweather people did Pier 6 that one year, which I think was 2003 or so. But we were still running all the Merriweather shows.
Gene, it's weird seeing you in places that's not Merriweather. I don't know that I've ever seen you anywhere in the real world. I don't really. Have we ever? No, we've run into each other at Oriole games and like things like that. I think maybe.
Yeah, Oriole games and probably Ravens games and.
Yeah, but like you are, like if I ever come to Merriweather and you're not there, it won't be Merriweather.
Well, we want to see you back here on the lawn, and we do have the coldest beer in town, so remember that.
I had an experience, and I got to tell you this, and you can tell me off the air if they're not the real vendor anymore, because I know things change in the world. Your place is so beautiful, and they've spent money, and kudos to Seth and Audrey, everybody that's always kind to me and lets me drink on a deck, and, I tip well and I pay for my beer. But being down there the last couple summers and seeing the rebirth of something that's important, that means something, having that taken away sucked. But 2 years ago, you had me down there for a show. I'm pulling my cord off. You had me down there. I think it was a rock show. I don't know what it was. Maybe M3 or something. I'm back on the lawn, and I smelled food. So you talk about crab cakes, right? And you had a vendor back on the walkway toward where the little house is, and they had barbecue. Like
barbecue
barbecue on like a potato bun, like simple East Baltimore thing. And I walked by and I saw a girl had it. And I smelled it. And I'm like, that smells like the barbecue at the Circle in East Baltimore that's been gone for 20 years that I ate all of my childhood. And I went over and I looked and I'm like, it looks like the same barbecue, same sort of way it was made. I've never seen it that way in 25 years. And my parents, every Saturday night after church, they stopped. We watched All in the Family with it. It's where I learned everything. Learned about the real world.
Oh, that's scary.
Well, the meathead taught me some things, taught me how to straighten up. Edith taught me how not to treat my wife or my mom. But either way, or I grew up marching bunkers, Dundalk. But
Lucky Jen.
I went out and I bought the sandwich and I'm out on the lawn. And I should remember the show. I will, because I've seen so. It was Training Goo Goo Dolls. It was Training Goo Goo Dolls.
August.
It was Training Goo. That's exactly what it was. Yep. I'm on the back of the lawn watching Train, sing Save Me San Francisco or something. And I'm eating this sandwich. And it was a simple sandwich. It's just a simple pork sandwich, but it had a special barbecue thing. Now I'm like in heaven. I've got a beer. I'm seeing a great band. It was a perfect night, and I'm eating a sandwich that I haven't had in 20 years because it reminded anybody in East Baltimore knows the Circle. All I'd say is the Circle, and they'd be like, "You can get a Circle pit barbecue sandwich on the back of it." Yes, and I bragged about it, but I have so many memories. These cicadas. Do you remember the cicadas in '87?
I remember the cicadas. Yeah, and they come whatever it is every 17 years. I think the first year that Steph had the building. When he was here full time, because he promoted here in the mid 90s too. But when he had the building in 04, I think that was the first, that was a cicada year too. But you remember the 87 cicadas? Were you here to show then?
No. It was the most amazing night. And I want to talk to Amanda. I should have brought Amanda in on next time we get together.
We'll get Amanda.
So we bring Amanda
she's down
on.
In Texas.
She's actually in Portland, Maine. We're Facebook. She's there this week eating lobster. She's having a good time. So
she lives in Texas, right?
No, of course. Yes, she does. A million percent.
Yeah.
She's vacationing. So I want to get up with her because the story's from the 80s, but this is a night that, like, I think of all the nights there, like the Cars. I had a front row seat before I knew you. I camped out for tickets with Ron West. So like all of these memories I have before I had backstage passes and all of the things that I did as the Cameron Crowe guy. But this was very early. I started reviewing shows in the summer of '86 at your place. And I remember seeing Jimmy Buffett for the first time, Jackson Brown. They were all on the roster that summer.
Were you even 18 then?
I was 17.
You were so
I was 17. I was 17 years old. Bud Becker was on last month.
Oh, yeah.
He's devastated about this Hammerjacks news. He hit me the other day. Bud's great. I love Bud. And Bud and I talked about him buzzing me at the backstage door on the little red button backstage at Hammerjacks. And Billy Ehrman took me. We'll meander in this conversation. Billy Ehrman took me over to the parking lot that was Hammerjacks 2 weeks ago and wanted to know where the backstage door was because he heard my conversation with Bud. And I had to figure out in the parking lot how many paces underneath of the viaduct. I don't have to do that at Merriweather. You built a second deck. You did everything. Everything's the same, but it's different. It's better. Like, you know what I mean? Like your place. But I want to tell a cicada story. So
tell the cicada story.
Cicada story is '87. Howard Jones, and I have the ticket stub. It was May, like 31st, 30th. It was this week. It was my wife's birthday is May 31st. I bet it was the 28th, 29th, 30th. It was this week. '87. Howard Jones.
With your wife then. You weren't with your wife then. That was
1987.
You were checking out the ticket takers.
She was in 5th grade or something. I don't know where she was. She's a little younger than me. Not by much though. She was in high school. So anyway, I'm out. I had a seat. Left center. Amanda usually put me in the 3rd or 4th row off of what you call the Circle now, the hard seat. And Howard Jones stopped the show because the cicadas were overtaking the music. Like they were so loud between songs. They were trying to sort of compete with the music, right? Symphony Woods. Remember Symphony Woods, right? And there was a symphony of cicadas, and he literally stopped the show. I mean, I remember like it's yesterday, 34 years ago. I've never been anywhere. I've been at some weird shows where the lights went out. I was at your place one night when Ozzy and Metallica played. I was at that show.
Were you? Wow.
That night, Stevie Nicks played the Capitol Center.
And I remember.
Tell everybody that story, and I'll tell the cicada story, because that was same time, 87, 88, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was around that time.
Metallica opened for Ozzy.
Yeah, and then so there's two stories. One is the one where at the end of the show, the lights went out,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody thought that, oh, it was normal, but really what ended up happening is it was a power failure at the end of the show. And then there was another show with Chicago where the lights went out in the middle of the show. I mean, there's the
I wasn't there that night.
You weren't, oh, yeah, of course not.
I wasn't there the night Jackson Brown recorded, running on empty and all the, all the stuff. I was there. I told this is a Merriweather story, all right. And I had to Google this to make sure that I had a couple of drinks this night. You guys invented Earth Day. Do you remember that? You were
Oh
the
yeah,
first.
so that would have been, yeah, that was April of 87 or 89.
89, maybe
89,
89.
April of
Okay.
89.
Whatever it was. You guys.
The Earth Day concert.
You were the epicenter. You were the DC sort of kickoff to this
With
thing.
Natalie Merchant.
Natalie Merchant.
And her boyfriend.
I caught her and Michael Stipe having a snog. They were having a snog backstage. So I remember that night. And Kirk McEwen was with me. He doesn't remember it. I'm like, how can you forget Michael Stipe and Natalie Merchant making out on the deck? How do you forget things like this? I remember these things. But the cicada thing for me.
Well, hang on the Natalie Merchant, Michael Stipe. He walked out on stage, from what I recall, and did a song with her. Like it was not announced, and I mean the audience just went crazy. Wait,
I think he did King of Birds.
Michael Stipe.
I think he did King of Birds.
Okay,
I'd have to look that up.
Good memory.
But I think he did King of Birds. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what a fun thing to have happen.
I've seen.
But it was a great. Go ahead. Go talk about
every band at your
Cicada
place.
Symphony.
If I sit here and tell Merriweather stories, I'll be here until next summer. I mean, and I won't get to your place for Rod Stewart and Cheap Trick. And certainly
that cold beer.
Alanis Morissette, I'm coming. I mean, I'm there for that. I'm probably there for Cheap Trick and Rod Stewart, although it's in the middle of the tour. Al Coachella wants to know what night of M3 I'm going. Whatever night Chips Enough's there is the night I'm going. I think that's Saturday night.
Okay.
So the cicada thing, I've seen everything. He stopped the show and literally let the cicadas sing for a while.
Did they know the words?
They just chirped a little bit. They just whistled a little bit, kind of like a Billy Joel song, like The Stranger. A little bit like that. But the cicadas were so thick on the trees down there, and they were making so much noise that it interrupted a Merriweather concert. So like that's a early Merriweather memory. But I got Jimmy Buffett memories and all that. I want to know about the next set of memories. So like fill me in on the Merriweather of the last year and a half. Gene Parker is here. We've been friends forever, obviously, but nothing like this for you. My dear friend Jason Wright, who's one of my life for blood brothers that I spent some time with last week, zooming up with him because I want to bring some more musicians on the show. And I've been reaching out to rock stars through people like you to say, hey, they're all bored. They're all home. They all have a tour coming up. They've all been home. I'm figuring a lot of people are going to want to promote, support this. I know the government's gotten behind this. I saw Audrey on CNN this weekend.
Oh, wasn't that great?
I've had her on the program as well, but you're my OG. You know what I mean? You're like, you know what I mean? So give me the last year and a half for you and your troupe, and what's up your sleeve for coming around the corner? Because I can't wait to get back. You know that.
Well, we can't wait to have you back here. Yeah, it's been, as you can imagine, very miserable. I think I started off earlier just saying, we all feel like, we really didn't have a purpose. However, now with Governor Hogan's recent announcement, I guess it was 2 weeks ago tomorrow, we're opening up, and it's just, a breath of fresh air, knowing that now, because for the longest time there was no light at the end of the tunnel. But now we've got a beacon of light and moving in a really super good direction. Speaking of light, my light just went out, so
that's all right. Well,
I just got it to come back on, so it's
like Ozzy and Metallica. It's perfect, man. This is going to be good.
Right, power failure. Here we go.
Every time I have Ron Furman on from Max's on Broadway, I still call it that. He's just serving a bunch of beer now. Who would have known this craft beer thing took off other than him? Every time I have him on, I tell him about the night the Rembrandts were there to play, and the grid went out. Everybody was out. They had everybody shut up. And Ron ran out and bought candles, and they literally played a candlelight show acoustically.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I don't have a better story than that.
Actually, go back to the Chicago one. So when we lost power here, and this is going back into the 90s with Chicago, it actually was the power in the parking lot, but I think it also affected some of the, power inside in the lights. So when the show ended, everybody was walking out, and what we did to light the parking lots was we took the staff, had the staff drive their vehicles out to the parking lot
Headlights.
and shine on their headlights. And that was the only way that we could effectively get everybody out safely. So,
My
talk
crazy
about
aunt
having
used
to
to do
turn
that
them.
down on the border, in the Mexican border in California. But
Oh,
that's
Lord.
another. That was 3 decades ago, and my side of the family doesn't talk about that. But yeah, I mean, get the woods there and everything it represents. And I mean, full disclosure, I've known you forever, but I wrote a story and I found it at Merriweather's like 15th or 20th anniversary, I think, maybe 90 or 91. I wrote a cover piece for the Evening Sun. I still have all these clips, but I did a lot of history on your venue. And I know so much about the venue and the Grateful Dead and pissing off everybody at the mall. And it was originally going to be for symphonies, and then Led Zeppelin and the Who showed up, and the Kinks, and all of this stuff that's happened at your place. But it being saved, like, the notion that I'll never go there again, or that it was going to close down, or that it would be overtaken by bigger thrones in Northern Virginia, or all of this that you've been through as a business, that you've lived as the captain of the ship from the beginning. But the fact that it's better than I would tell anyone in the world, if you've ever been to Merriweather, that somebody would say, is that still there? Yeah, go down and check it out, man.
Well,
It's like, it's better than it ever was. And I didn't always love it in the 80s. I didn't like being on the lawn. I mean, you guys Gucci'd me all up because I was a music critic and a hotshot and stuff, but I didn't love being on the lawn for a show I really wanted to see, back in the 80s. Now the lawn's where I want to be, having a barbecue sandwich and jamming out the train,
So a lot of the credit to that, the construction started in 2014, and the credit really goes to Seth. He had a vision. And then he had Brad here on site who could help execute that vision. And then David Costello, Costello Construction, which was our general contractor. He was able to, put it all together, put the nuts and bolts together. And
is there any place I'll go that'll look like this? Like, I know, like, you were built in the day to look like Pine Knob and Hoffman Estates. There was a whole, they were called sheds. You were the summer shed,
Blossom.
Right?
Blossom was the first one.
Blossom, yeah, they were all, and I've been to a couple of them. The one in that's gone in Antioch in Tennessee. I saw Tom Petty there, and I saw
So you did a shed tour, just like you're going to be doing a crab cake tour.
I went to most of them. I went to Riverbend. I saw Pearl Jam at Riverbend.
And you weren't even a Deadhead.
Not at all.
I only saw your own.
I saw the Dead one time in my life, and I walked out. I saw him at RFK Stadium. Dylan, Happy 80th, Bob.
That was
Tom Petty,
right? Yeah,
man. We're all just, I'm not a Dylan guy, but I'm glad he's still here. I see Willie Nelson's touring.
Yeah,
a lot of the shows you get.
That's going to be,
Yeah, I mean, I can't
24th.
wait. But I want to go back to the venue a little bit, because is it based on anything else? I mean, like, is it? I mean, I don't know if this is the way they're building them these days, but certainly what you've done with the deck feels unique to the structure.
Totally Seth would never be a poser. Seth would never copycat anything. Like, he's the one that people try to copy. So, truly it was his vision to create what he created. And it's amazing now when the artists stand on the stage and they look out, and not only do they, they're right there by the pit and the crowd in the pavilion and the crowd on the lawn, but now they've got the tiered levels with the boxes and then the sky lawn. And it is just an amazing scene. It's almost a religious experience to be watching and observing and being part of all of that. So the artists love it. You as a consumer, even though you've been in the business forever, a show here at Merriweather never grows old.
I am a jaded MFer, right? I mean, really am. I mean, like, when I tell people the stories,
hard on yourself.
How about this? My wife gets in an elevator where we live with a dude I've known 20 years, who has a wife I've known 30 years, right? So she's a Baltimore person. And he didn't say this to me, and I'm outing him. And if he finds out, that's fine, because it'll mean he's watching the show. He says to my wife a couple of weeks ago, he's like, was Nestor like the Cameron Crowe guy, like the Almost Famous? Was he sort of like that? And she's like, Yeah, kind of, sort of. Like, I only know the stories. I didn't know him then, but boy, he has a lot of pictures, and he has the stories to go along with them. And then there's always people like Gene that show up that were like, "Yeah, I remember the night this happened or that happened or whatever," and we're all a part of it. But we lost Johnny Powell recently.
Oh, I know. Oh, look what I have. Look what
Oh,
his
come
son
on now,
sent
you're gonna
me.
make me cry. Let's do it.
You see what his son sent me?
Oh my
Hold on,
God.
hold on, hold on. That's the
Oh, you're gonna
family.
make me cry. What?
I just got this in the mail from his son Kevin yesterday. So they did these nice little backstage passes with his date of birth and his date of passing. I know, isn't that a great picture of Johnny?
It's epic.
I'll do the rest of the interview like that. I think that's how we'll do the rest of the interview.
Well, I mean, I'll cry. Stop. You're making me cry. So Johnny, the last time we did an event before COVID, we were at State Fair. And we were doing Ted Venetoulis, I think, as I remember. Maybe it might have been Barry Glassman. It was Barry Glassman. Hartford County executive came down to Catonsville to do a show with us, and then all hell broke loose. It was like March 10th or whatever.
Oh, right.
And Johnny's eating a Benedict with his son in the other side of the room, and he yells at me. He says, his son comes over. He says, "Do you remember Johnny Powell?" I'm like, "Johnny Powell's a legend." He's like, "That's my dad. He's sitting over there. He said he knew you." This is before my hair got all rock and roll too. So I went over and I hung out with Johnny for like a half an hour. And man, he was living in Oak or Charles, one of the senior facilities over there. But we got to talking completely 100% like my mom, 100 full mind, the whole deal. And he remembered everything. And the thing he remembered was a Merriweather memory. That when Whitney Houston was on her,
it had to be Whitney Houston.
It was Whitney Houston.
It had to be
so
Whitney
on
Houston.
her way up life's highway, she was as big a star. I mean, the only thing I can compare that to might have been Madonna in '84, where you weren't running in '84. You were like sort of a kid still there when Madonna came in. It was
I was
insane.
here, but I wasn't managing.
The Madonna show, probably of all the shows
so
ever.
That was June 1st of '85. And wasn't it the Beasties?
It was the day before I graduated from high school.
No way.
I graduated June 2nd, 1985.
And Beastie Boys opened, right?
I couldn't get a ticket. I mean, you couldn't get a ticket. You couldn't get
nobody could. It was completely sold out.
The pictures that you would always show of the overstuffed Merriweather on the cover were from the Madonna show because you couldn't get any more people there. So, that era and all of that, Johnny was the Arista rep after being a longtime A&M rep. Love telling old rock and roll. God, I love having you on the program. Gene Parker's here from Merriweather. I'm going to be drinking beer and eating barbecue and rock and rolling and whatnot all summer long. So Johnny wanted me to interview Whitney Houston, and because I was syndicated, right? At this point, doing it would have been on the LA Times, and he was like good in with her management and whatever. And like I had a backstage pass, and she had agreed to sit and talk to me, and then like wasn't in the mood. She stumbled around stage. She wasn't a dancer. The show was weird. I think I may have panned her the summer before, and that's one of the reasons they wanted me to sit with her. As I found out later in life, David Bowie, the reason he sat with me is because I panned his show at Merriweather. The next year, he did a 30-minute interview with me and was lovely with me about how I was correct in panning him, that he was bored with what he was doing. Like, this is when he did Tin Machine. So I have all this. It's all at BaltimorePositive.com. You can go click on it, listen to it. It's all there. But anyway, Johnny remembers the Whitney thing as being something really fun between he and I, because I was a pretty ambitious lad, would you say?
Yeah, it's an understatement.
How bad did I want the Whitney Houston interview, being that she was one of the biggest stars in the world and I was there and I had I was a reporter. How bad did I want that? So she comes backstage and she set up like this barrier between her and all the fans, and she called the whole thing off. She had a moment and just blew off everybody. Me, I guess sponsors, record company, whoever was there.
All the VIPs, all you VIP people.
We felt LIP, less important. I don't know. Very unimportant, VIU, and very unimportant. I don't know what it was, but either way, so it didn't happen. The interview didn't happen. But she was 5 feet away from me, and it was like all going to happen. And I had talked to her manager, and they didn't like ask me what questions, because I wouldn't have submitted to it. But like it was all going to happen. That it didn't happen. So all these years later, Whitney Houston has died. It's been tragedy. It's been all that. I go over to Johnny Powell the last time I saw him alive, and he's like, I had that Whitney thing all set up. That was a screw job. 1989, and you wonder why I want to cry when you hold his picture up, right?
Aww.
Gene is here. We're gonna have some beer, fun. Give me what's up at Merriweather. Give me like where we are right now, because I mean all the heartache's over, right? Like you're hiring, firing, doing, tickets selling.
Oh, hiring. We're hiring.
Hiring. What are you doing? Tell me everything that's happening.
Hiring. Well, just a couple real quick things. It's to get us through, to get everybody through the entire country. Audrey did a bang up job with that, moved a lot of mountains, a huge Herculean effort with all of NIVA, the National Independent Venue Association, which was not even, was a fledgling entity a year ago, back in April, and it eventually became a household name. So they panned together, got a pool of money, unbelievably so, $16 billion for our industry, and a few other industries jumped on once they got word of what Audrey and everyone from NIVA had done. So
she was on with me 11 months ago. I mean, it's the first thing I noticed when June came. It's June, I got a mask, life sucks, and hey, there are no concerts,
There are no concerts.
The day I had to go into my calendar and eliminate Hall and Oates and eliminate eliminate all that stuff that you had planned last year. Man, I can't imagine. It sucked for me when they canceled Pearl Jam. I was upset. I mean, I have Stones pit seats. I got Pearl Jam. I had all this stuff going on. But I mean, for you in the industry.
But even this time last year, like we all thought in May, by October, everyth's going to be better. It's going to be better.
I mean, uncertainty as human beings, it's the worst emotion you can have, right? And I think trying to ramp up this engine this time. And again, I know so many people Jason Wright and I had a long chat, just offline friendship chat, just about how hard it is to put a tour on the road. To start from nowhere, one tour, one band, one routing, and then trying to like land planes, which is what all of you are trying to do right now.
Correct. Yeah. Without having, back with the whole COVID thing, you were learning how to fly the plane, right? And like, even with putting the bands together and the tours together, it's not like flipping a switch. A restaurant is not dependent on the other restaurant across the street, to be open. They are a self-contained entity, whereas our industry is, codependent on other cities, other venues to be open. So like Jason said, you can route tours, leapfrogging from city to city to city, and string those dates together. But we're there now, things are looking great. The SBA still needs to release the funding from the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, and that's being worked on, and Audrey's doing a really good job trying to.
Do you not have any quarters for the jukebox? If you need a couple quarters for that jukebox, I'll help you out with that.
Yeah, I'll take you up on that when I see you here this summer. There's probably a few tunes on there that you might like. But yeah, if everyone goes to Ticketmaster.com, you can see our schedule for 2021. It's very robust. We're beginning July 2nd, as you have said, with the M3 weekend. Hair metal weekend. And
I want to give a little warning for everybody that's a fan, like I'm a fan, because I woke up. I love you all the time. I called you last week, hit you about doing this because I was messing around with the calendar. I was trying to figure out, all right, what night is Holland? What night is this show? And I saw some things moved around a little bit, right? So some dates have jiggled even from what maybe you may have seen a couple months ago. And I just want to let people know that because Chris Stapleton, some things shifted a little bit. And I'm friends with Toby up at the Man as well in Philly.
Yeah.
And I just want to warn anybody, if you put something in your calendar, whatever it is musically, go back and check and just make sure, because things have moved a little bit.
They have, for instance, Dave Matthews, it moved from July 17th of 21 to
maybe that's the one I was thinking of. There you go.
But hopefully most people know about that now. And there's been a couple that have moved from 21 to 22. And but we will have a full schedule in place this coming summer, and we can't wait for that. So
well, I can't wait for the beer.
Everybody's very super excited.
Yeah, man. I just get some music going here, and all due respect to Royal Farms Arena and the Pearl Jam, and I hope they reschedule that, and I hope everything happens. But there's something for your thing, outdoors, right? And this time of year, I went to the Wrecker the other day, and I had Brian on, and Paul Mann is coming on this week.
Oh, is he?
Because
Yeah,
while
Paul's
Paul and
great.
I were together, he did a Rush tribute show, and that's what got me in, got me back out, jump back in the pond. But I was 15 days shot up at that point. So, on the front end of safe is what Dr. Fauci would say. And it was an awkward thing. I was back by the bathroom. I'm trying to be on the down low, but I'm at a music show, and I've done this my whole life. So half the crowd comes by and says hello. It's a Rush show. No one's using the ladies' room. The few that are, I'm like, oh, like but they're all coming by and saying hello. And I had a 6-foot thing, like elbow, fist bump. How far are you? Don't spit on me. No, I'm not hugging you. But I think outdoors, yeah, like when I was in Catonsville, we did a crab cake the other day over at State Fair. I'm going to get you on a crab cake tour. I
would love the crab. Yeah, I can't wait to.
It's only for old friends, and we're old now, so that's fine. But I guess the outdoor thing, part of being at Merriweather would say, I'm on the lawn, I'm cool, I'm good. I'll come down to tomorrow if you bring Tiny Tim to stroke a ukulele. I'll come down there to let the cicadas sing tonight. We'll light candles. But I am looking forward to it. First show's M3, right? That's my first chance.
M3, yep. But let me tell you one thing about the cicadas. So since the last time the cicadas were here 17 years ago, we have done all that construction. So all the construction and the movement of all the earth and all the new buildings coming up and all that disturbance, I think that we're going to be in a place this year where we hear them in the woods behind us, but I'm not sure if you're going to be seeing all the cicadas in the trees that you saw before.
Yeah, you've moved the earth, right? Like
that's moved the earth, right? But one of the things before we opened in the years that we did have cicadas, in that year and then the prior 17 years when I also was here, one of the tasks of the operations staff was to go around, in addition to lining the trash cans and making sure the gates were unlocked, was also cleaning the cicada carcasses off of the trees, so people wouldn't have to see them, because they're kind of cool, but they're kind of ugly little things. But I don't think you're going to be seeing that this year here because of all the disruption of the land.
I told my wife I saw a bunch of dead ones at the corner of Lee and Charles in downtown Baltimore. And I'm like, that's weird, man, but that's cool. And I have great memories of Howard Jones. I'll always have that cicada memory. I remember him hit my windshield on the way home too, as I remember making little hail
hopefully
sounds.
You weren't drinking and driving, my friend. So
not in 87. No.
Okay.
Never in 87.
Never in 87. Okay.
Nah, it was before my time. Jane Parker is here. She is the short-time, long-term, long-time GM of Merriweather Post Pavilion, where I'm going to get back. I'm going to get a proper beer, barbecue. Hey, shows. I see the are there another 10, 12, 15 coming, or
we have not announced everything yet? So
is there stuff still in maybe July? I don't know how quickly stuff can get ramped up. No, okay.
Likely not July, but in August, September, and October. So once we start in July, the next show will be the beginning of August sometime. We're still kind of working through all the details there, but we will have a full schedule this summer. So we're looking forward to it. Even though we're not starting in May, we're starting in July, but we're going to go, well into October. So looking forward.
You ever go to Anthem as a fan, or do you ever just go out and do a show?
Oh yeah, I want
to do that with you. Shows. I want to go out with you one night after all these years when you're not.
I'll be driving you. You can drink. I will be the driver. I'll be your designated.
Just put it in the box. Put it in you like that. I just know you always have the walkie-talkie back in the day and walking. You know what I mean? Like I want to be somewhere like at a Lenny Kravitz show. Like some of you. What do you like? What like if there was a show at Anthem and you could book it and you and I could go together and just have a beer on the balcony at the Anthem, just proper for 90 minutes and like rock out or veg out. What's your band?
I like a little bit of everything. Eric Church is coming up at the Anthem for 2 nights in December. I like Eric Church. I like a lot of, country stuff, but I'll listen to show tunes too. So
I'm not going to a country show.
Not going to a country show. So
I'll do Chris Stapleton.
Okay, that works. We can go to something else if they, Foo Fighters won't be coming there, but who knows? Like maybe My Morning Jacket will be there.
I would love to see My Morning Jacket.
Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. So
God, all these shows sound
great.
But
they're, so
I got to go save my money so I can come down there and give it to you and spend it on beer and barbecue. I hope the barbecue vendor's still there. Let me know if it's not, because I don't want to look forward to it and then have a surprise. Like if it's not going to be there, I'm okay. I can live with that, but you just have to let me know offline. Gene, I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you come back and visit after the cicadas are gone. And I won't bring the person on you may clean the carcasses up. All right. This time around. All right.
Big friendly hugs to you, Nestor. Looking great. Nice to catch up.
All right, my hair will be longer because I bought hair care product. That's the rule. Once you buy the product, you got to keep the hair for.
You got to keep. So. There you go.
I'm just seeing what happens. It's like a chia pet. It's a total experiment in Eddie Vedder, 1992. Arms raised in a V. Gene Parker joining us here. She's down at Merriweather Post Pavilion, icing down the beer, getting the barbecue ready, getting the backstage ready, doing the whole Jackson Browne loadout song, so they can get to the next show in Chicago. But it's coming to Merriweather, M3, and rock and roll. And I'm going to get Steve Whiteman on to talk about the time he gave me voice lessons to save my life.
Oh, that's funny. That's great.
That's a true story. I'm going to bring John Allen in too because we both had voice lessons from him. Steve's taught everybody. He taught his bass player how to sing like Geddy Lee. It was the bass player from Kix that has the Sundogs Rush band that I went to with Paul Manna. It's Baltimore. We're all in it together, this music thing.
Baltimore, that is for sure.
I'm glad we're all back in business together. I hope to see you down there real soon, okay?
Same here. Thank you.
Gene Parker joining us from Columbia, where the cicadas are not like they used to be, and Madonna doesn't play there anymore. But Dave Matthews does, and Chris Stapleton is, and Hall & Oates are, and Cheap Trick is, and I'm going to, I Want You to Want Me on August 13th down in Merriweather. I'm Nestor. We are WNST.net. Wise conversations ahead, and our friends at Rofo. I'm waiting for my Chicken Palooza 2021 shirt, but this is the 2020 model. The chicken's great. I had it the other day. It's delicious.